is Andrew, and this is the Who Dat Discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast, where we talk about all Saints news, opinions, and reactions. And this is day 2 of our free agent frenzy, and today was really a frenzy with Saints news. Basically, all throughout the day, there were Saints news. There was Teddy Bridgewater, that whole news. We'll get into that first, and we're just going to go chronologically throughout the day. Saints did sign Latavius Murray, so welcome to the Saints, Latavius Murray. But while doing that, the Saints have really let go of Mark Ingram. They're not going to sign him. It looks like he's going to sign with the Ravens, about $8 million per year. The Saints were only willing to pay him about $4 million per year. So just to give you guys some numbers about that and really where the Saints were looking at. But I think we're just going to go right in and talk about Teddy Bridgewater. And the Saints expect, really everyone, you're looking at a lot of sources, they expect the Saints to sign Teddy Bridgewater tomorrow once free agency begins. It looks like they've agreed on a deal, and it seems like everyone is in agreeing with that through other sources like Jane Slater, like Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter. Everyone's in agreement here. Teddy Bridgewater to the Saints. He's going to get re-signed here. To me, it brings up a really good discussion topic about, is Teddy Bridgewater now the guy in New Orleans after Drew Brees? Is he the guy to really come in here and be the quarterback after post-Drew Brees? And I think that, look, could do it. He is only 26. He's a lot to learn. I think he's definitely learned last year. He's going to learn more this year under Drew Brees. And I think he could be a really solid quarterback down the line. No, look, he's probably not going to be Drew Brees. Now, look, Drew Brees did make a similar jump, just like Teddy Bridgewater, around this time. Brees' career was in limbo with the shoulder injury. Sean Payton picked him up, and obviously both of them, you got to give it to both of them. Now, that offense, obviously, were one of the best offenses in football, top 5 every year since 2006, top 4 even. So when you look at that, maybe Teddy Bridgewater takes that trajectory like Drew Brees, but look, that only really happens once in a lifetime that Drew Brees is going to come on. So look, Teddy Bridgewater, to me, is not going to be that top 3 quarterback in the league. But he could be top 10. I think he could be top 15 to 10. I think he's in that range. And with those quarterbacks, you could definitely win the big game with and win the Super Bowl, especially if you have the room to sign Michael Thomas, to sign, re-sign Kamara, re-sign Rankins, all these guys, these young players, Ramczyk, all these young guys, that are going to need to get paid. We'll be able to pay them if we have Teddy Bridgewater not even making that much money. We'll see what the deal is. No contract details are out, and they probably won't be out until tomorrow. But all that's been said is that Bridgewater had a better deal with the Dolphins, and he actually opted with the Saints instead. He wanted to be with the better locker room presence franchise. Look, I understand that. To me, that's really good for him. Maybe you would have given him a chance to start right now, but later on, I think this is a better deal for him, especially more stable. We'll see how long it goes for. Now, maybe I don't really know what this deal is going to be. It could be just a 1-year deal, whatever, how much it is, 5 to 10 million maybe, or maybe even lower, depending on if he's willing to take that pay cut. Or do you give him like a 5-year deal, tell him you're sitting this year, you're only going to make a certain amount of money this year, but then next year you'll make like $10 million or $12 million, and you'll start for the Saints. That, I think, is a possibility as well because, you just see it. It's like, if the Saints say this is their future, Sean Payton said this is their guy after Drew Brees, it's going to happen, then here you go. Then give him that deal. Say we'll give you $12 million. I wouldn't give him anything more than that right now. To me, I haven't seen enough. And I just don't think, look, this year I thought he was some team was going to pay him big money. And teams have opted to do other things, either if it's signing Nick Foles or if it's trading for Joe Flacco, trading for Case Keenum. They all chose those options instead of signing Teddy Bridgewater. Now, look, that to me means the teams are scared that Teddy Bridgewater is still having repercussions after the injury. I don't think that is true. I think even in that game, which we will definitely do a film study on the Teddy Bridgewater game that the Saints played when he started, and we'll look at really each throw. I don't think it was as bad as people say, but to me, look, he's got some work to do, and I think we all know that. But sitting behind Drew Brees, I think, is going to really help him. And then also playing with a lot of stars is going to help him. Playing with Mike Thomas is going to help him. Playing with Alvin Kamara is going to help him. Playing with Latavius Murray is going to help him. It's better than what he had. Obviously, the backups when he had Dwayne Washington and other, I'm not going to say no name, but not good receivers. Simmie Cobbs was out there. Michael Thomas was out there a little bit, but not always. Traquan Smith was out there a lot. So, look, these guys, not great. Keith Kirkwood, they're not your star receivers. Now, to me, when you're looking at Teddy Bridgewater, if he has our starters here, I think this team could win 10 games, 9 to 10 games right now as constructed. That's not bad. That get you in the playoffs. Maybe it's more than 10 games. I think the Saints with Drew Brees is a 13-win team. I think Bridgewater would definitely take them down a notch, but I don't think it's going to, look, if this team gets on a run, and I think if they let Bridgewater up, they'll be able to sign other players as well, and I think it will free up cap room down the line. And if the Saints want to go young, or maybe they want to use Teddy to bridge to a young QB, well, that's all yet to be seen. But right now, all we know is that he's going to come back next year, and he's going to back up Drew Brees, and he's going to learn more. And then we'll see if it's a long-term deal or a short-term deal. I'm thinking more of a short-term deal, but maybe he did take a long-term deal to stay with the Saints because Sean Payton did say that after Drew Brees, Teddy is our guy. I can't wait to see more of the bike life dance and even more dances. I just can't wait to see him in the locker room. He's definitely a kicker. And then also, in preseason, we're going to get to see him too. We didn't really get to see him last year in preseason. He was with the Jets. And now we're going to get a full preseason with him as well. And we'll be able to, watch his film there, watch what he's able to do. And I think it's going to be some good tape with him, especially because Drew Brees doesn't really play in preseason. So we're going to get a lot of Teddy Bridgewater. And I think that's going to be really, really good. So now we're going to move over to the next part of the day. And really there's that afternoon. And that's when the Saints had really 3 big news segments here. First, signed Latavius Murray, 4 years, $14 million. That comes out to be a little less than $4 million per year. It's 4 years. Murray, look, he's only played 4 years here, so it's not like he is very, very old, but he is only a month younger than Mark Ingram. He's played 5 years. And why is that? Is because Ingram, he just went through the normal path, but Murray, he tore his ACL, he was out for the season in college, and then also he got redshirted, so it was a long road for Latavius Murray here. But once he got here, and you're looking in these last 5 years, and I'm looking at Mark Ingram compared to Latavius Murray, and look, is Mark Ingram better? Yes. Since 2014, Mark Ingram's had 2 1,000-yard seasons, Murray's only had 1, but you also got to look at it, Murray has gotten less carries, but when you look at it, Mark Ingram is definitely a little better in those last 5 years. Also, Murray's just getting, especially in those first couple years, he was just getting his feet under him. But when you look at yards per carry, touchdowns, Ingram's there. Ingram's a better player. But last year, Ingram didn't really... Look, guys, I don't want to say that Mark Ingram is a question mark for whatever team he goes to. $8 million, I think he's a question mark. But I know everyone loves Mark Ingram, and I don't want to put down Mark Ingram because I do also love Mark Ingram. But last year, they had the same amount of carries, 140. Ingram only had 60 yards more, so it's not a big increase. And both had 6 touchdowns. Both had around 4 yards a carry. Ingram a little bit more. And really, both had those same receiving stats as well. So it wasn't like that big of a difference. Murray started only 6 games because he was backing up Dalvin Cook. And then Cook got hurt, so he had to come in. And he was very, very good in that stretch. I believe he had over 5 yards a carry when he started. So that's good. He's a really good teammate guy. He's okay with sharing the carries with Alvin Kamara. I think the Saints are going to like him. And I think the Saints fans will come up and like Latavius Murray. I think he's not a Mike Gillislee. I don't want you guys to think that because he's not a Mike Gillislee. I think if you wanted to compare, if Mark Ingram was on one end and Mike Gillislee was on another, he's definitely close to that Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is not that much better than Latavius Murray. And some Saints fans have never even heard of Latavius Murray. He's going to come in here, and he's going to do what Mark Ingram did. He won't come in and probably do as much, but that's okay because now you have Alvin Kamara. This is his 3rd-year jump. Alvin Kamara, this is his time to shine. He's going to come in here, and he's going to have to take the RB1 spot and be a top 5 running back in this league like we all think he is. And he's going to have to show up here. And to me, I think he can definitely do that. I think that when you look at it, I think Kamara's ready. He's ready to take that jump. You saw in those first 4 games of the season, he's, primed to do that. He can take the load, and it would have been great to have Mark Ingram, but now you have Alvin Kamara, and then those short yardage situations, and those stack box situations, Murray will come in, he'll do a similar thing to Ingram, and then you'll go on your merry way, really, at this point, because Ingram last year, he was a little underwhelming, and especially coming off that PED suspension, he was worse than he was in 2017. And, obviously the Saints weren't going to be the same running back duo that they were in 2017 because they were amazing that year. But when looking at it, Ingram in 2017, 5 yards a carry, 12 touchdowns. He had over 400 yards receiving. He had a great year, and so did Kamara. Kamara kept up those stats. He still had over, I believe, 1,500 yards all-purpose. This is all really good stuff for Kamara, which he did in his rookie year. But Ingram took a step back, and you want to put it because he was the PEDs affected him. I don't really think it was. I do think Ingram is a good guy, and I don't think he was really using PEDs his whole career, and this year was the first year it stopped. But when look, the last 2 years before this year, Ingram did average about 5 yards a carry. He dropped to 4.7, and it's a lot. And then years before that, he was at like 4.5. So it was closer than he was before. And I'm not going to say Ingram again. I'm not going to say that he's like and he was bad last year, because he was good. He was good in the red zone. Look, he only played 12 games and he got 6 touchdowns. If you play 16-game season, you're going to get 8 touchdowns. That's good. That's a good season. 8 touchdowns. He would have probably ended up getting like 800 yards. He would have had a good season, maybe 900 yards. Like, that's good, especially when you're splitting carries. That's good. But I think Latavius Murray can do that. Also, Latavius Murray was playing with a worse offensive line, a worse quarterback, and that definitely put something into it. That you are going to respect Drew Brees more than last year with Kirk Cousins. That's a fact. And their offensive line wasn't ranked as good. The Saints are a top 5 offensive line. He's going to reap the benefits of that. He was great against the Saints. He only got like 8 runs, but he got like 60 yards on those 8 runs, and he did a really good job. Where it was like 50 yards. He did a good job, but the Saints, they got ahead, so the Vikings couldn't run the ball, but he was good against the Saints. He had a touchdown. He had a good game. So to me, I just feel like that's what I feel about Murray. I know everyone's upset about Mark Ingram leaving, but $8 million is just not worth it when you got a guy for less than 4, and he's not that much worse. Not that much worse. It's not. I don't even think it's even a tier below. They're basically, I think they're on the same tier. Mark Ingram's probably at the top of that tier, and Murray's at the lower end of that tier. But I don't think the Saints need the Mark Ingram production. You want to talk about Mark Ingram in the locker room? Latavius Murray, from everyone that I've been hearing, from Saints reporters to other reporters, Viking reporters that were wishing him goodbye, they said he's a very good locker room presence. No problems. He can step in just like Mark Ingram stepped in. And I know Michael Thomas is upset. Alvin Kamara is upset. Cameron Jordan's upset that Mark Ingram's leaving. But that's kind of the business. If Mark Ingram wanted to say so badly, he should have then took the $4 million deal if it was that big of a thing for him. Like, I like Mark Ingram. He's a great player, and he should go get his money. But it's not financially sound for the Saints to pay Mark Ingram $8 million and then 2 years later, or even a year later, pay Alvin Kamara $15 million or $13 million. That's too much money to have wrapped up in a position where you have a player going over 30 now. I'm taking a step back here. I love Mark Ingram, and look, he's a great player, and I think everyone should definitely look at that. But as a Saints perspective, is it worth having a player for $8 million going to be on the wrong side of 30 by the time next year hits? And then also, you have a star running back that you're going to have to pay, and it's really his time to shine now. Look, I understand everyone's going to be upset, but Latavius Murray, he's a really good locker room guy. Even look, he Instagrammed like he was going to leave and he's coming to the Saints. So he already Instagrammed that. And then what were one of the first replies to him in comments? It was Adam Thielen, star receiver for the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins, quarterback for the Vikings. Look at them. They were the first people to say, "We're so happy for you. We're happy, that you and your family, you get to have a pretty long-term deal with 4 years." Adam Thielen said, "We'll miss you in the locker room." Like, that stuff in, a year that was very hard for the Vikings, where they kind of choked down the stretch and didn't make the playoffs. He was definitely a rock in that locker room, and he definitely made an imprint on people. Because, you don't just go out and say that if you're anyone, just like Mark Ingram obviously made an imprint on our locker room, So that's just what I feel. I don't think the locker room, as much as I know Alvin Kamara is going to be very upset with his running partner is now gone, but he's going to love Latavius Murray. And I think all Saints fans are going to as well. So now we are going to move on to a rumor here and kind of a visit, because the Saints are having a player visit, and that's going to be Ziggy Ansah. He played for Detroit, and look, he's kind of had an up and down career. He got franchise tag last year, only played 7 games last year. He played 14 games in 2017 and had 12 sacks, which is, I mean, put that over 16 games, that's like 13 sacks in 16 games. That's really good. In 16 full games in 2015, he was he was selected to the Pro Bowl, and he was, I believe, a second-team All-Pro maybe, and he had 15 sacks. And that's obviously really good. 34 QB hits, that's elite. That's Cameron Jordan level. And that was, I know it was 3 years ago, but look, he's there. He's been up and down throughout his whole career. After putting 8 sacks his first 2 years, he had the 14.5 sacks, 2 sacks then, which is obviously not good in 13 games. Bounced back to have a 12-sack year in 2017, 2018. Played 7 games, only started 2 of them, and had 4 sacks. 4 sacks in 7 games, it'd probably be around 9 if he played a full season. That's, again, I think that's what the role he's going to play for the Saints. He's an upgrade over Alex Okafor, and I really hope that they can bring him in here. I think he could be a good player for the Saints. If the Saints do bring him in, I'll definitely do a film study on him. But if they can get him like pretty cheap too, if you can get him like 2 years, $12 million or something like that, maybe he's a little bit more. I don't know his exact market, but I think that the Saints are obviously interested. And look, if you put him opposite Cam Jordan and then also have Davenport rotate in, which they'd probably split, I think it would be 50-50. That's a mean 3 guys to have. And Ziggy Ansah is a player that I think could come in and have that 8-9 sacks a year. Put that with Davenport, which I think he could be a 7 or 8 sack guy. And then I think Cam Jordan probably will get 10 sacks plus. I mean, this can easily be a year where the Saints have 25 sacks from 3 guys, and that's obviously amazing. And you're thinking even more than that. So with Zeke Ansah, if he stays healthy, now look, he's only stayed healthy 1 full year, but he's played over 12 games, all the times but 1. So if you can give me 12 games or give me a full season with not playing and not starting really, and just coming in there and being a rotational pass rusher and getting me 8 sacks, that's what the Saints need. And that's an upgrade over Alex Okafor. It's a much better play than Alex Okafor, because I love Alex Okafor too, but he was getting 3-4 sacks. He was good against the run, but so was Ansah. Ansah's also good against the run. So he's just a full upgrade over Alex Okafor. And you may want to say that the Saints are maybe downgrading with getting Latavius Murray, which I think is kind of questionable. The Saints would be a full upgrade with going with Alex Okafor. Maybe that evens out a little bit, because I think, look, when you look at it, 2 teams are visiting him. It's Buffalo and the Saints. If you're a free agent, where are you going? And let's say they're offering very similar money. Where are you going to go? You're going to the Saints. I mean, we all know that. Unless he really sees something in Buffalo that he likes. But to me, that's just what I'm thinking here. And I think the Saints will be, in it to sign him. And hopefully it's just not that big long-term deal. But if it's only $6-7 million or $5 million, $5 to $7 million, I say sign me up. Because, look, Okafor will probably be paid $5 million. And if you can get him for a similar amount of money, it's an upgrade. Sign me up for that. He didn't have a good year last year because he got hurt. So you're going to get him for a discount. He's an athletic freak. Even coming out of college, he just needs to put the tools together. And he's been on and off. Some games he's doing really good. Some games he's a little iffy, but maybe he just needs that change of scenery to really have that pop year. He's really going into his prime now after being in the league for 5 years, really going into that contract, that next contract to really where you establish yourself. And maybe he can teach Marcus Davenport, who also has a ton of physical traits and just needs to hone them in. Ansah was the same thing, and Ansah obviously had some huge years to do that. And I think he's a force to be reckoned with if he's healthy and he's playing motivated. And I think the Saints could give him both of those things, and he could be really successful for the Saints. So I think that's definitely something to look at, and I'm very happy with that. And then our final rumor here, and really our final headline here, is that the Saints, quote unquote, want Dez Bryant back here in 2019. That's obviously great. Des Bryant then tweeted out a Saints logo. So he wants to come back. I think this is going to happen. I think it should happen. It gets that Saints that extra player opposite Michael Thomas, which they probably will need. It gives them depth at the position. And look, if Des Bryant could put up 60 catches, 700 yards, and 8 touchdowns, that's a hell of a year opposite of Michael Thomas, player who's going to have probably 1,200 yards, 100 catches, 12 touchdowns. Like that would be amazing. And I think that's what the Saints need. Still no news on Jared Cook. Still no news on Ndamukong Suh yet. Doesn't look like any news is breaking right now, but I'm just going to check for you guys real quick. But in the meantime, if you like this podcast and you haven't followed us on our various accounts, you can follow us on Twitter at the Who Dat Dis, on Instagram at Who Dat Discussion, and then also on Podomatic at the Who Dat Discussion. And then also you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Google Play channel, and our Spotify channel at the Who Dat Discussion. On YouTube, please hit that notification bell, hit that like button, that thumbs up button, leave a comment. I would definitely answer all you guys' comments. I love talking about the Saints with you guys, and it's just, look, this is going to be a frenzy time. Tomorrow's going to be the same thing. The Saints usually wait back a little bit and sign free agents later. They usually sign players Wednesday, Thursday, going into the weekend. That's usually what they do. That's what the good teams do usually. Look at all the teams that have went out and signed a lot of big players early. They're teams that are not so good. Because, look, these players, they haven't went for visits. They haven't really honed in on what the teams are trying to do here. Now when you have a visit, you take back, you see where the fit is really at, and then you can hone in on those decisions. That's what Demario Davis did, and maybe that's why he saw the Saints were such a good fit for the Saints. The Saints had a lot of visits last year. They had Sue. They had Sheldon Richardson, who did sign that deal. But to me, this is what the Saints are looking at. Really, there's no deals here. And look, that's fine. I think it's going to be officially with Mark Ingram 3 years, $24 million. And look, I just don't think he's worth it. I'm sorry. And I love Mark Ingram. His market value was $4 million by Spotrac. It was $4 million, and he's going to get $8 million. So good for him. He's getting much more than his market value. And good luck to Mark Ingram. When you're looking at Latavius Murray's market value, it's around what the Saints paid him. That's good. Around that $3 million range. Saints got him for a little more than $3 million. But to me, a very good signing there. And I think Latavius Murray could be very similar to Mark Ingram. Everyone's thinking, oh, he's so much worse. I've never even heard of this guy. He's had some good years. He had 1,000 yards in with the Raiders back in, I believe, 2015. And then, 2015, he made a Pro Bowl. He was very, very good there. Then he came back with really, 70 yards less rushing. And he still put up 800 yards and 12 touchdowns with the Raiders. And then he went to Minnesota, backed up Dalvin Cook for a bit, and he still did a very good job there, and he was great in the clubhouse there, or the locker room, there. Maybe I'm a little onto baseball, but he did really good job. He had 14 touchdowns, and he only started 17 games with the Vikings. That's almost a touchdown a game that he started. That's obviously really good when you're looking at what he did with the Raiders. He started 28 games and he had 18 touchdowns. So he can give you 10 touchdowns if he started and played a full season. He's a nose for the end zone, and so did Mark Ingram. They have a lot of similarities. He's a bigger back, but he's a bruiser, and he's going to go in those large sets, and he's going to pound it down your throat, and he's going to put up 4 yards a carry, 4.2 yards a carry, something like that, just like Ingram did this year. So if you liked what Ingram did this year, I think you're going to get more of the same with Latavius Murray. I think Ingram did take a step back, but when you're looking at it, that was still good. That was still what the Saints needed. It worked. And I think Latavius Murray can do really good. And he put up very similar stats with a worse team. So put him on that better team. I think he could be just what the Saints need. So with all that said, I want to say thank you. Prove him right. And then also, guys, we're going to be back the whole week. Hopefully the Saints make more moves. And who dat?